Okay, so I've started the recording. Like, hello all. Today we'll have the last session of this series. Hunar, Tabassum, Neha, Shraddha will be speaking about PhD applications for USA and Canada. Firstly, I want to thank everyone for waking up so early in the morning and coming here. But yeah, they'll get started, and please feel free to ask questions in between. So yeah, Hunar, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi all, I'm Hunar. Currently at the University of Southern California, US, and we also have Tabassum and Neha here. So for the starting, I'll just hand it over to Tabassum to start with the introductions and all.
Hello all. First of all, thank you for Shashank for arranging such a nice session. And the thing is, I remember 2 years back, I was on the other side of the table listening to the program arranged by the alumni association. So things change
Yeah.
over time. Once we were in the other side of the table, now we are on the other side, listening. Now we are giving a talk. So it's things in PhD applications, people mostly think about uh, you need some legendary CV or career impact so that you can crack something, or like you need a big bang CPA. My CPA went from all the way from 6 to 10, so it was a wide spectrum of CPA. So that's not the case. You don't need a legendary CPA. You don't need a summer project with a Nobel laureate to get into something, or you don't need some paper with a 10 plus impact factor, or you don't need a the recommendations so that you have a possibility to win a Nobel Prize. So that's not the case. So if you have a little bit planning and you know how to apply, and you know how to present your best, you will crack it. So basically we'll be in a nutshell we'll discuss those things. So we'll start with the first slide. So first of all, with pre-application, what you need to do is that basically in US and Canada, the thing is running department wise. You need to apply department wise. So in the Europe it was mostly directly mailing the professor, but in US it's entirely department wise. So me and Hunar are in the same university. So when we came here, the entire department knew us. Like first day, hi, there was someone was calling some senior professor. Oh, nice, you know us. So they knew us completely inside out, like what we have done, what
Yeah.
we are going to do, and what's our interest. Like that was the case. So the department, and the most important thing is when you are writing something, please keep in mind in that if you are sending that to Europe, like maybe one professor or two will read, but that's not the case of US. At least for us, the entire
Yeah.
department was aware of our SOP, our CV, and everything. So, firstly, maybe in the case of US, you can contact the potential PS, but that's not mandatory. Neha was insisting that she contacted the PAs in Canada.
Yeah,
So,
I think it is always good to have direct contact with your
yeah,
PIs because you're
yeah,
anyway paying for it. So it's good to ask that if they have the position or not.
yeah, that's the case. So in the US also, it's always good to have. So there are many students who came with some link with professors. So that's the case. Then you need to reach out. The timeline is you can reach out in September, November. Deadlines are mostly in December, and there are few deadlines in November too. Some elite universities will close in November, maybe in October, mid October also. So you need
But they
to,
can also go till January.
yeah, there are few new universities which go till I think UCSD is going till Jan 1, mid Jan. So the thing is you need to consistently follow up with the websites of the universities, make a list of the universities and follow up their deadlines, and there'll be 2 or 3 deadlines. And some universities will follow up you till April, May. I even got mail in April, your application is here. So please pay your fee so that we can consider. So that's the case. You need to have, like, you need to consistently look over the deadlines. Then there will be, of course, there will be fee waivers, and there are few universities which don't need any fees. So while preparing a list, or you are not financially that stable to pay fee for everyone, so please, you can design in such a way that you don't have to pay fee. And, like, first of all, the thing is, like, you need to collect the information of everything, like what's
Yeah.
happening, where is happening, something about this. So in US, normally there is no separate funding because you will be paid either by TAing or some RA. As mostly in first year, you'll be paid by TAing. So that's the thing. And but in Canada, I think that we need to apply separately. The
No,
basic,
in Canada, usually your PI sponsors for your lab assistantship, and the TA is kind of mandatory, so you are paid halfway by the department and half by your PI. And you don't
yeah,
really have to specifically apply. They will give you the positions that you can choose from them, but they decide how they want to decide. You
Okay.
don't really get to choose, but okay, they give you an option that you can choose, but that's not the reality.
yeah. In in US, it's like you are completely independent. You can do whatever you want. Basically hired by the department. But maybe a segment of people, like maybe in chemistry, you will be in inorganic segment. So that will be the, or organic or physical. That's the case. So the basic thing is, like, plan ahead of your time and be prepared. So you will get what you can do. So basically, next we'll discuss about the cold mailing, like how you can structure a mail so that you can contact the potential advisors. This is mainly for Canada,
Yeah.
and it's always useful in US too. Like, if you are able to contact some professor, and you are able to convince them, they'll watch you for on the board when they are reviewing their application procedure. So that's always a, like, something you can do. So from here onwards, Neha will take over, I think. Yeah, over to you,
So,
Neha.
yeah, thank you. I wanted to emphasize the importance of mail. I think wherever you apply, it is very nice to have direct contact with the supervisor you want to work with. It doesn't matter where you are applying. I would highly recommend you guys to shoot an email. It doesn't really take that long, because if you have your format ready, you just need to spend like 10 minutes or so rereading. And so, firstly, start with the introduction. You just introduce that you are pursuing BSMS, or pursuing in your final year, you are doing this thesis project. And also mention, don't forget to mention your supervisor. And so, this is the line that usually Puneet used as an introductory line, that he's applying to University of Toronto. He wants to pursue a PhD. And then you need to describe about your thesis. Be brief, because anyway it is included in your CV. Nobody wants to read a long email. Try to be as short as you can. And then you also don't make don't write wrong pronouns. It can be offensive. So check first what they prefer, or go like neutral. Professors, doctors, like, don't go like she, he. Don't pre-assume the stuffs. And then you can also write about their paper which influenced you to talk to them or write to them, or which particular topic in general you want to work with them. Okay, because there are usually you work like, let's say in my lab you work on 3 different topics. So specify which one are you interested in, because there are open positions for different topics. So you need to specify which topic are you interested in applying for. And also you need to have a look at the department. Write your relevant achievements. By relevant here, I didn't really write these in my email content. It's better to include them in your CV. But still, if you think it is something that is eye catching, feel free to write in your email. And like the scholarship or your CPI or the courses. So let's say I'll share my experience. I took Gino George sir's course, and I mentioned it because it was in polaritonics. And that guy was a friend of Gino sir, and he was really impressed that I have been taught by him. So try to find out contacts if you can. And also, I would highly recommend to ask them, try to convince them to go for a Zoom call or Skype call. Even if they don't want to take you, it's fine. It gives you an opportunity to discuss. So it is gonna boost your confidence, and you are also gonna be more aware. They may put you in contact with some other PI, so it can work out. Try your best, and like, don't forget to mention that are you available for a Skype call or a Zoom call anytime of your convenience. Yeah. Can you please
Yeah.
look
Also, I'd like to say one more thing, that for US, when you're applying, you have to give like two or three names. Like the university application states that you write three potential supervisors' name. So you can always contact all three of them or even more, and then finally decide which ones to add for your like, application. So yeah, yeah.
I just have another thing to add here. Like everyone just mentioned, even in the US, when you're applying, send emails. Because, like, I know a couple of universities where people who had already established a contact before got an easier way to get in. So you never know the university that you're interested in ends up being like that. So it's always better to email because it's not going to harm you. And like, even if the professor does not reply, like, they do read their emails, okay?
Yeah.
So even if they don't reply, they at least know that a person by your name had sent an email. And maybe if they don't remember your name while going through applications, it would strike them that they had come across this name sometime in their life. So it still makes a difference. And after you sent an email, maybe wait for like 10 days or something and send a reminder email again, because it's more than like, mostly it's like you end up getting a reply to a reminder email rather than your first email. So don't hesitate to send reminder emails also to your the first email. Yeah.
Yeah, so how many reminders I sent, the response was negative, but feel free to send reminders. I mean, it states that they have already read your email. So don't think that if you haven't got a reply, they have not read your email. They have read it. And moving on to the attachments, the first is SOP, statement of purpose. See, I don't want to like specify it to be like 1 to 2 pages. It totally depends on you. So frankly, my SOP was of 4 pages. Okay, so it because I had to explain that I had to change my thesis supervisor because she had to leave. So long story short, I couldn't make it short. So I had to write a long SOP to explain. It should be original. People are really happy to read it if you know that it is your story. Don't try to like copy paste stuff, or don't try. Let's say I want to say I was influenced by Briggs Ross reaction and it changes color. I was really fascinated by the reaction. Don't copy someone else's reaction. There are so many reactions in chemistry. Find your own. Don't just write. I read like various SOPs, and I see everyone is writing about this blue bottle experiment. Like everyone knows about that. You can change your experiment. Just think more and don't try to like copy paste your SOPs, because it definitely needs to be original. And they are not the only ones reading your SOP, as Hunar and Tambasu
Yeah.
mentioned, that your whole department is reading your SOP. And trust me, they have read lots of SOPs. So don't try to copy stuff. And also about the CV, CV should be compact. I would also suggest that CV should be compact, and it should not be more than 2 pages. And I will recommend you to like add your GRE scores or any English proficiency scores if you have, even in the email or even in your CV. So like let's say my case. So I didn't really have a paper, and the other candidate, she had 17 papers. Okay, so, but still, we both are selected. So it doesn't really matter. We are on the same page right now. She has 17 papers and I have none. It doesn't matter. It depends on how you portray yourself. So like he was concerned about my writing skills and speaking skills, so he wanted to see my scores. Like he wanted to make sure that I can write a paper on my own. So I think it is a concern for almost all of the PIs. So I would recommend you to add your writing and speaking score at least, so that they know you are good enough to work with. And transcript, don't attach transcripts, only if you are asked, please attach then. You can also, instead of SOP, some people like to go for cover letters. I would say cover letter is a shorter version of SOP. In cover letter, you are very to the point. You want to do this is what influenced you to do this, and this is what you are expecting. However, SOPs and motivational letters are almost similar kind. You can write longer, but if you are writing a cover letter, I would suggest to just go for one page. And so it's your personal preference if you want to go for like longer version, like SOPs, or if you want to go for cover letter while attaching. Yeah, anyone has something to add in this? Okay, so
Um,
then
it's fine.
Okay, so then SOP again. So of course your whole department is reading your SOP. Keep it genuine. Why did you choose chemistry? You need to know. See, chemistry is again broad. Now I can't write I am interested in inorganic chemistry. No, I need to go in depth. So suppose let's say you are working in nanomaterials. You can't write whole nanomaterials. Just tell that you worked on quantum dots, you worked on perovskites, and you love the way they glow. They have so many applications. Like first start to build up your story. It has to be like normal. What is like a child, how it is influencing you, and then go into the depth of the topic, and don't pre-assume that they already know what you're talking about. So you can also like add a bit, like let's say what perovskites are in 3 words. If you can sum it up, it's nice. Like don't pre-assume that if they're working in nanomaterials they all already know about perovskites. They don't. This is what happened with me, so it's always good, nice to give a small introduction. And of course do not copy paste. And SOPs can also go through plagiarism check, so be aware of that. And you can always talk to your seniors and friends and also tell them to share their SOPs. I guess many of us are happy to share them. And read and take ideas from them and tailor it accordingly. And if you are applying to multiple PIs, this has been already discussed, you need to emphasize why each of them is good to apply for. I mean, what influenced you to apply under them.
Yeah.
And
I just have a couple of things to add here. Can you go to the previous slide? Yeah, okay. So the last point which says applying to multiple PIs. So in most of the US universities, you in the SOP do mention the PIs that you're interested in, and I would suggest that like two, three, or four. Like this is the basic number that you should mention, because what happens in a lot of cases is if you just mention one or two, it is possible that they're not going to take any PhDs that year, or they already have a lot of people applying to their labs, so you might lose out in that sense. So like make sure that you are actually mentioning two three names, and when you're doing that, mention like it says why each one of them is like a lab that you're interested to work in. And apart from that, you see, like you might have done a lot of different internships and you don't know how to put all of it together. Just try to think about what led you to go from one internship to another. Even if they don't directly relate to each other, there would be a broader sense of how you can like create a story through that. Like my internships were in very very different fields. Like I had one in an organic chemistry and one crystallography, one in inorganic chemistry, so they're all very different from each other. But I tried to think about what led me to go from this, like from one internship to another, and in that sense I was able to make up a story even though each one of those projects were not really related to each other as such. And I mean, apart from like your research work and all of that, you can maybe even try mentioning some other things which probably are not directly research related but related to academics or those kind of things in
Yes.
general. Like I can give you an example. Like I was the Curie Club convener also, and there were a lot of like lectures or talks and other things that we had organized through that. So that was something that I had mentioned on my SOP. So maybe if there are other things like that, or there are conferences or posters that you have presented, maybe you can even mention these kind of things in your SOP, and yeah, it will just like be better.
Yeah, I also wanted to add, like, they really want to look at skills, like, if you're a team worker, if you are able to manage people, if you are like if you can manage your own research like with minimal supervision. So if you have any activities outside of academics as well that can like potentially direct towards these qualities, so you can make sure you add them as well. So
And
this is good too.
I also wanted to emphasize the importance of extracurricular activities. So my PI was really not happy with the CVs he was receiving, and he was like, "I just don't want to hire nerds. I want them to be a whole rounder."
I'm so happy you guys are mentioning this. Yes, this is very, very important.
So don't underestimate that I should not give a section to extracurricular activities because
Yes.
they are not related to academia. No, you need
Yeah,
to
I
have.
think like I had mentioned basketball also, and like Hunar said, it's a team sport. It's all of those things,
Yeah.
and like yeah, Hunar also like it was in the Bhangra team. I'm telling you those things. Like maybe we
Yeah.
might think it doesn't make a difference, but it actually does. So
We
just like
actually do
write
like
a line or two about it. You don't have to like write a whole para about it, but like a line won't harm.
yeah, so people here like they don't want to keep you in the lab all the time. They want you to have some life outside of the lab so that you can fit in well with other people too. So that is one good quality. Like they know it's gonna help you. So make sure you add them. Also for the multiple PIs case, like I for USC here, I wrote three names, and during the interview, I got to know that two of them were not taking students. So I just had one potential name that I could work with. So luckily, they just asked me to send two more names after the interview so that like they could like I had an option to like fit somewhere even if the first one didn't work out. So it's always good to like give three, four names even and tell them why they fit. And even it's okay if you give your preference as well that I love this one the most, but these are also the people I can work with.
Also, I'm not sure like if this applies to all universities, but I can say most are like that. That even if you've mentioned some names on your SOP, in terms of the PIs that you're interested to work with, but after you join the university, at least like at Stanford, you are free to work with anyone
Yes.
you want to.
Yeah,
They
that's it.
don't restrict. They're not like just because you mention these names, you need to work with one of these people. And in fact, a lot of other departments give you the a lot of universities give you the opportunity to work with any person in any other department as well.
Yeah, that's the case.
So maybe when you're applying, suppose if you're applying to the chemistry department, it would be a good idea to write chemistry profs because you're applying to that department. But okay, so yeah, one more thing that you can mention is like even if you are writing chemistry professor's name, you can mention one or two professors from other departments whose work you found interesting, and you can say that I would be interested in collaborating with them or other things like that. Because I remember there were a few universities in which I had mentioned this, and you could also look up for some other like central facilities, or if they have like
Yes.
a national lab or something like that which does the kind of work you are interested in, and mention that you would also like to work here or you like the work going on in these labs as well. Because when you mention these kind of things, they realize that you have done a very good background research on the kind of work going on in the university. So that's when like they would feel like, okay, you know your shit.
Yeah, so what I felt is chemical engineering department is really close to what like whatever we do in chemistry. And then if you are a physical chemist, then you can also look at the physics department too. And if you want to do something related to the like environmental chemistry or atmospheric chemistry, you can also look at the earth science department. So people usually they do have professors who work in both the departments, but sometimes they just don't. So you may also find your potential PI in your earth science department. So like I was interested, like I looked at like aerosol people like who were working with aerosols, and I really liked their interest like work. So I always added like one or two if there were good people. So that's also a way to you can go around. Yeah. So can we move ahead?
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah. For the post application, this is after you hear back from the universities. So be prepared for interviews. So These can be formal or informal ones. Usually they are formal ones, but they're like they're not too hard. So I always had like 3 to 4 slides handy about my work, and whichever they may ask you to present or not to present, but you still it's better to have like 3 to 4 slides about your work always ready before the interview. So the acceptance deadlines for Canada are closer. They usually give 2 to 3 weeks after the offer. For USA, it's different when you will hear back from the university, but the deadlines of acceptance are usually by mid-April. So you may hear back right in January. We heard back in January. People might get acceptance offers in Feb, March. Yeah, I don't think they go to April, but still, like the time varies. And make sure you like look at the groups you're working with, potential groups, and you can talk to their lab members that how the group is, how does their lab work. And in the meantime, you can also like talk to the lab members, talk to your potential PI that I got a call and that I want to talk to you about how your work is. And yeah, that's fine. And one more thing, place and stipend are important, but they need not be the priority. So you can always look for like groups that you are like seriously interested in, even if they're not at a like I'll say a top university. If you so that doesn't really matter. So it's your call what you want to choose first, and ask for funding details. For US, they have pretty much like the department funding is there, so you like it's always on their websites. Even if you still want to like get more details, you can always ask your PI or your department head as well.
Uh,
So
to add here, in Canada, you must ask for funding details because they don't usually come from the department. So there are some industry-based projects that you might be working on. Let's say, in case of me, one industry is sponsoring me. So it depends. So you must ask who is funding you, and also about this preparation of slides. I would suggest that if you have one or two good results, please try to put the results.
yeah,
Just give the introduction, then give the results. I was also asked to prepare like a short speech of 2 to 3 minutes about my research experience. So be prepared. You can also be asked to do such stuff. It's good when you have time. Speak for like 2 to 3 minutes. Be ready with the speech. Be ready with your presentation, so that if something comes up, you are handy.
yeah.
Hands for you to present.
So we'd also give you a sample mail. This is Neha's mail, and it's pretty good. I can see, and
Uh,
I
I
guess
I
like
mean, you can change it. Of course, this was like my first mail, so I have obviously brought this. So first is like you give the introduction where what you're doing and which field are you looking for. Don't go for I'm looking for chemistry. We don't be that broad. Don't look for like I'm looking for particularly inorganic or organic. Try to be as specific as you can. Of course, if you don't have options, you can broaden your horizons later on. But when in the start, you know whom are you applying to. Try to be specific to your PhD research topic. So let's say here nanomaterials is still fine, then you can give your background. You can tell what in nanomaterials you have worked on. Let's say I worked on quantum dots and perovskites. So what is my thesis project, and I have in short written about what else I have done, excluding quantum dots and perovskites. And of course, you please tell them to refer to your CV and SOP. So what happens sometimes that when you're writing an email, sometimes you forgot to send the attachment. So it happened with me that I thought I attached my CV, but I didn't. Then I got the reply that can you please attach your CV? I think there's some problem with the attachment. So write this line so that you know in case you do, it's your bad, the person knows that you have attached your CV. It's not a blank email. And of course, then what fascinates you to work under them? Okay. try to read, see, if you're really interested in that particular supervisor, try to read one or two paper and relate it to your work. You don't have to spend hours doing it. Just like skim read their papers, read the abstracts, and write one or two line. And if you go like very specific to one particular paper, I think they are really happy about it. And also, like, if you are going through an interview, remember one paper that strongly influenced you to talk to them. Okay, and I would rather say it should be a high impact paper. Okay, so try to choose that paper, and of course ask for a Zoom call or Skype call, and be as polite as you can. Don't forget to add your please, thank yous, and sorries. They really matter here. I mean, sometimes we don't understand the importance here, and you need to say your please, thank you, and sorry very often here. I
Yeah.
guess this will help you to give an idea of how to write an mail.
Yeah. So we also have some potential interview questions. So the first one that usually comes up is tell us your story. Mine was like here you and your interviews like like the first thing I'd like to say your interviews can range anywhere from like 15 minutes to an hour and a half. So be prepared to like spend all the time and be ready to have like all have at least these questions on your tips. So whatever you're gonna answer. So the first one is usually tell your stories. For me, it was for I know for
For me
Tabassum.
also that was the case. Yeah. First
Yeah,
he just started the interview and said like, tell me your story. And then he
yeah,
was like, okay, now I'm going to listen. And then he was
yes,
like, not talking anything. Like for the after that for 10 minutes I was only speaking. So
yes. You can go
he was
as
prepared for
back
that.
as your like pre
Kindergarten.
kindergarten classes. That okay, I was a curious kid from then, and they'll probably listen. And you can go as long as you want to, but like keep it like a center that you always have your story written for like have a 10-minute story written so that if you even if you forget something you can always end up like with a 5-minute effective speech or something and like go all the way through your classes through your science teachers if something interested you then to your courses like then to joining IISER and then finally why did you choose a PhD. It's also good to like they usually ask you to explain your research project or whatever project you like the most even if it's a summer project then it's always good to have 4 or 5 slides ready. Then you can always ask them if I should present it by slides or if I should like go on verbally. So most of them allow you to prepare slides since it's very easy and they also ask you questions how is your work relevant to whatever people you have mentioned. So if it's the PI that you're directly talking about, they'll ask you how you feel that your work is relevant to their work. For me, it wasn't the people I wanted to work with. It was another prof who was interviewing me. So we went through like briefly went through like okay these are the people I'm interested in and this is how like I feel that I can work with them. So they also ask you like pretty simple questions why this university, why this person. Even if they can also ask you why do you want to do a PhD in USA or Canada or why in a particular city. So it's always good to answer that I wanted to settle here or I didn't want to settle here or something. Like I always wanted to explore this part of the world and then I
I
wanted to
mean,
do
be
a
honest.
PhD. Yeah, be honest with this. Like they don't really mind if you like chose say USC for being here in Los Angeles. It doesn't really like give you a bad impression or something. Then they may also ask you about your transcript. It happened for me. Like I had a few D's, so I wasn't really ready. So that guy goes on like, okay, so I see a little D here. Like, can you explain why was it like? But then he was again super chill. He said that it might, like, I understand if it's just like you didn't kick off with the professor and you just ended up getting a bad grade. So, but be sure that you can explain your grades to them. Say you like it's okay if you were sick. It's okay if you weren't serious about that course or something. Like it's totally fine. But always have a like explanation ready and don't be blank during these times. They can also ask you about your qualities, good and bad, teamwork, hardworking person. They always like show good caliber for PhD students. Then, how do you spend a typical day in your lab? Like, yeah, since you'll be working for over a few months while you get to your interview, so they can ask you how your typical day at lab or your current project works goes like. And is there anything else you want to add? Like,
Yeah, I think you should always think about your bad quality beforehand. But I mean, we can always say I'm hardworking, I do this, I do that. And I was asked, what's your bad quality? And I had to like ponder for 10 seconds. So I would suggest everyone to like think of one bad quality. Okay, so let's say I said that I can't work outside the lab. I need a full, proper atmosphere to work with. I can't sit in a park and study. So it simply depends on you. And I think the list can go on and on. So I was asked like many questions as to do you want to pursue your career in academia or do you want to go to industry later on? And how will you survive Canadian winters? I mean,
yeah,
everything. The list can go on. And I also want to emphasize the importance of your background. It may sound stupid, but it does matter. So I want to say, like, when I was giving the interview, I was sitting in lab. There was nobody in the lab. It was late in the night, and they could spot chemicals behind. Okay. And the first question I was asked after "How are you?" was, "What is that chemical that is kept behind your back, and which is that instrument you are sitting in front of?" So they think that you are sitting in a lab and you are working hard. It's late in the night, and here people don't really work after 5 or 6, and we guys do. And Indians are supposed to be like hard working. They have this image of hard workers, and my PI was like really impressed because I was giving interview in the lab. So it does matter. Choose your background wisely. Sit in a library with your books. I mean, it may sound stupid, but it does matter because they just have like 10 minutes to ask you questions. And they will ask you like
Did
is it just me or just Neha? We
I
lost Neha.
think we lost him.
I
Okay.
think we
to
lost
judge you.
Neha.
They have to
Yeah.
judge.
Okay. She'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, there was
Yeah.
some.
So, yeah, is she back?
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
I
back.
am.
Oh,
I guess my point was clear.
yeah. So make sure you don't like sit in a interruptive background. You don't have people walking around, people shouting around, talking to each other. Sit in a quiet environment, even if it's a library or a lab. And with good internet, we don't want you to lose points. Okay, I don't understand you. Okay, your voice just got cut off there. It just doesn't get the flow of the interview going if you don't have a good internet.
And
And
also, if you're sitting in a lab, don't keep eatables anywhere nearby.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, it's India, we do it, but here people take it really seriously. And don't keep any eatables nearby.
yeah, sit in a good side of your lab so that they don't really like see, okay, your chemical is gonna fall down and like go look at it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, like
So
set up your laptop and everything maybe half an hour before the interview
yeah,
because
like
your laptop can really give you trouble if you do that very late.
yes,
Luck can be bad in this case. So, like, make sure you set up everything way before the interview is gonna start. And I mean, in some cases, your interviews could be at really odd hours. Like, I remember having one at like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. So, I mean, like, just make sure you wake yourself up pretty well ahead so
yes,
that you are fresh and your brain is functional at the time of the interview because you need to keep thinking while the interview is going on.
yeah. Also, I'd like this is a given, but also have one friend ready for you, even if you want to talk, like, if there's an emergency, so they can help you out. I always had one friend, like, waiting for me, like, for at least 10 minutes. like she'd wait once for 10 minutes once my interview started, and then go back to her room or something, and then she was still on her call if I really needed anything, if I had a bad connection or something. So always have someone outside your room that can help you with, like, if something shows up. And get your phone charged. Always like have internet on your phone so that if the student's Wi-Fi doesn't work, you can always connect it to your phone and mobile data. And
Also
after
keep
the
other
interview,
accounts handy. Like let's say once I had a Zoom meeting and it
mhm,
wasn't really going well, so I was told to switch to Skype. So
yeah,
keep all of them open in different tabs. You might have to use any of them.
yes. So during the end of the interviews, they usually ask if you have any questions for them. So it's always good to have at least, even if it's a simple question like what's the about funding, or how does their typical day at a lab goes like, or are there any courses or something. But it's always good to ask questions, like even if you don't feel like asking, like please ask any question, even if you have, like, it's good that you ask questions. They don't want something, okay, so do you have a question? No, I don't. So that really doesn't, like, give off a good vibe.
Yeah.
And
And be punctual.
yeah, be punctual.
Don't be like 5 minutes late. It doesn't matter. No, it does matter. Be
Yeah.
10 minutes beforehand.
Also, if they say that they want you to present your work for 5 minutes, like, make sure you stick to that timeline, because there are people who might not interrupt you, but there are a few people that, like, it again is totally subjective to what kind of interview you are giving. They can cut you off in between. Okay, your 5 minutes are over, and you might have not even gotten to your results yet.
Yeah.
So it's
You need to realize that they are interviewing 40 people in a
yeah,
single day and it's a tiring day for them. So they want to
yes,
finish off. Try
yes.
to make your impression in the start itself.
Yes,
Don't
stick
be,
to your timelines. There might be another student in the next 10 minutes, so just make sure you don't stretch it too long, like longer than what they expect. So yeah. So Neha mentioned a few resources, like
I followed them after I got my PhD. Like I,
uh,
I think if I would have known them, it would have been real help. I know like applying for a PhD can be a really tedious task and sometimes it can be discouraging, but they are always motivating and also giving very nice suggestions about how to write your SOP, CV, cover letter, everything. You name it, and they have it on their LinkedIn accounts. They have
yeah,
so many posts. I would highly recommend you to check these guys out if you're applying for a PhD. And yeah, they anyway motivate you if you don't find anything.
yeah. Make sure you immerse yourself in a lot of resources. I even in the starting, I even googled like sample cover letters or something. If I didn't have an idea like what a format was or something,
Yeah,
so make sure you, like, you can always steal stuff from ideas, but obviously don't steal stuff. But like you can get inspired, and then like there's one phrase, okay, like this one, maybe I can include it in my SOP some way or the other. It's good if you like, if you can. It's okay if you cannot. Like they're also like in an informal way. There are many people on Instagram and YouTube as well who like will guide you. Like they have like really good layouts on how your CV should be, good pointers from, again, from their own experiences. So it's always good to like get an idea of like what others are doing. Maybe if like read your friends' SOPs if they like want to share it with you. Read the SOPs of your seniors, and like always talk to your people in the lab. They might give you a good idea about what to do and what not to do, what to include in your CV, since like that's, you can also get it proof checked from your supervisor as well, so that's fine.
yeah. And also keep using Twitter. You get
Yeah,
open position, you get lots of open positions on Twitter.
yeah,
Follow the supervisors you are interested to work with. They do post, they do tweet that we have this opening here. You
yeah,
are free to send your CV to this email. So keep following Twitter. You can also follow the hashtags. Okay, you'll get to know more people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since it's the last session, we can also like encourage you to ask questions if you have any.
Yeah. So thanks a lot. This is very helpful.
Yeah, I just have some
Yeah,
things to
question.
add.
Yeah.
So apart from the SOP, there could be some universities which could ask for a diversity statement or a
Yeah.
personal statement as well. So I remember there was this one university where I had to upload a diversity statement, a personal statement, and a statement of purpose. So I'm just going to like briefly tell you what the difference with like between each one of them is, and then maybe like the rest of them can also add if I miss out on anything. So diversity statement is basically, it could be about your background of how you would add diversity to the university in general, but also about activities or other events that you've participated in where diversity and inclusion was a major factor. So if there's anything like that, mention all of those kind of things in it. And then you have the personal statement. Personal statement is basically like your personal story of how you got interested into chemistry, or how you started off with research, how you got into the university, like into the like into IISER and all those kind of things. And then the statement of purpose in this case becomes more about your research interests and which PIs you're interested in working with once you like in that university that you're applying to. But if there are some universities which just take a diversity statement and a statement of purpose, then you combine your personal statement and SOP together. Because then your personal story of how you got interested in doing a PhD would go in your statement of purpose. So, based on the university you're applying to, make sure that you divide all of these things properly so that you're not being repetitive, but you're also like covering most of the things. And one other thing is, once you've written your SOP, it is actually very important to get people to read it, because if you're working on it for a really long time, you might not be able to think about
Yeah.
things which aren't making sense or which aren't in flow. But if someone else reads it, it adds a different perspective to it. You get their opinions, and at the end of the day, it's like it's up to you whether you want to include it or not. But it's very useful to have those things in mind, that there are certain pointers that you can like places where you can improve it or work more on it, and get multiple people to read it. And I mean, you can give it to your seniors, you can give it to your batchmates who know you. So each one of them will have a very different perspective to it, and that will give you very important points to add to. Yeah.
Yeah, for USC as well, we had to submit a research interest statement, then a research background as well, and a personal statement. So I just have had to divide my SOP in three different parts and then like go on for a page or something. And then it was fine. I didn't like completely write a full page, but it was like 75% of the page. Like the personal statement or had all my background and how I got interested in science. The research background was my summer internships, my a little of my courses that were relevant to my research interests, and my master's project, of course. And for the research interest, I just like wrote that I am interested in this work and these people that and this particular work that they're doing, and that was fine. Yeah.
I also had to write a letter of intent. So, in the letter of intent, you are supposed to include your research proposal also in a very brief manner. So, let's say you are now working in a group which works on metal organic frameworks and you have your background in perovskites. So, how are you going to relate these two? You need to add that. So, and also like emphasize the importance, like let's say metal organic frameworks are useful for storing toxic gases and how it can be useful to the environment, and show that your work has very nice applications in your letter of intent.
Yeah. Don't dive into an application just a day before the deadline. Just like look at what you're required and then okay, maybe Google like what a application letter looks like, what an SOP looks like, what a letter of intent looks like. They might mostly be the same, but there are a few subtle differences that actually like matter. So make sure you include them. Like only give them what they ask, not extra info. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so like
can't
letter of
emphasize.
intent has a particular format. Okay, as the name suggests, it's the letter. So you need to write it in a form of a letter. So just Google search once. Okay,
Yeah.
don't just rely on somebody else's opinion. Do
Yes.
your own research and then start writing.
And can't emphasize this enough. Please start well in advance.
Yes.
Also, you are going to apply to a couple of universities. Most of them will have their deadlines around the same time. It's not possible. Okay, sure it is, but you should make sure that you don't leave most of the applications pending to the last moment. Like,
Yes.
try submitting like one university a week or something like that, and give every university enough time, because you will have to tailor your SOP based on the university a bit as well, based on the PIs and all of those things. And it's going to be really stressful if you're actually doing this in like the last week before the deadline.
Yeah.
To like try, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's very difficult to manage all of this with the master's thesis project and all of that going on. But maybe when you think it's like a crucial time where you actually want to work on it, you can take a week off or some time off from
Yes.
lab, so that you just focus on that, because that is equally important, right? It's going to shape the next 3 4 5 years of your life. So it's fine to take some time off from lab and just focus on that, especially like if it's like closer to the deadlines time. But like, please start well in advance and give it enough time. It is important.
Yes, I can also not emphasize this enough. Also, don't miss out on universities that have a like don't have an application fee. Like you like apply there. Like if you can find a reasonable group to work with, don't miss out the ones that have a like cheap application, like maybe $30 or something. I know there are like $30 to $40, so your application fee can range anywhere from between 75 to 140 also, I guess. So again, for my case, I didn't start on time, and USC was a free application, and I know I was coming back from a trip with my school friends, and I was completing my application in the car, and it got so late. It's like this one is a free one. Okay, maybe I can leave it or something. And glad that I didn't leave it, and I worked like completed it before like the deadline, and thankfully I got here. But it would have like I don't know what would things would have been totally different if I didn't complete that. So make sure you have enough time. I wasn't good at managing then, so I
Yeah,
would
and
say
also
that.
like if you already know that you want to work with this particular PI, ask him if he has a position. So let's say I had given two interviews, I had submitted my research proposal, and then I was told that I am
Yeah.
accepted, and then he asked me to pay the university fee. So
Hmm.
you tell me to, though the how it works in Canada is like US, you first pay your fee, submit all of them, and then the department decides if they want to hire you or not. But it didn't happen with me the same way. So I gave like two interviews. I submitted my research proposal, and he said, I don't want students to spend a lot of money. I want to make sure that they are worth it, and only then I'll ask them to pay $100.
Yeah.
So it's good to ask, like, be to the point. You can ask. Just you need to know how to ask.
Yeah.
That seems like a very nice PI. Okay, so we are open for questions now. Roshan asked a question in the chat. Is there any way
Yeah.
to know which professor is accepting PhD students so that we can approach that specific prof?
I would recommend you to check their websites. So there are always open positions listed there, and also check their Twitter. But if you don't, it doesn't mean if they have not added a position, they are not willing to take you. So you can ask them via email.
Right. And
Yeah,
you
or
can
most
also
of the
check Twitter,
like
Twitter like they
there are
suggest.
quite a few professors maybe in the US which who don't have actually open vacancies and things like that mentioned on their websites. So like, sure, you can definitely email the professor. That would be one of the best ways to get to know it. But you can also email their students. You can
That is true.
email a postdoc or a PhD in the lab, and like there are higher chances of them replying to you. So you can just ask them what is the like average number of students that your lab accepts every year, or is the
Yeah.
PI going to accept students this year? So you can ask those kind of questions to them as well.
I just want to pause for a moment. Is Rosmi still here? Because Rosmi is also a speaker and she didn't say anything the whole session. So if she has anything,
Yeah, I'm
Rosmi,
here,
if you have anything
but
else to
all
add.
the speakers have covered most of the things, so I was like,
Yeah. Okay. Great. So Aditi asks, how do you decide the four universities where I should send the free TOEFL score? Very important question. So who's going to answer this?
See, it's
Okay.
okay. I gave my TOEFL score at all the wrong universities.
Oh God.
I mean, I was stupid. Don't be stupid like me. Decide beforehand. And I paid for one university where I had to send my TOEFL score. But if I have to say about Canada, they just need your copy of the TOEFL score. They don't need your original ones. So that's why I am telling it's good to attach your TOEFL score also with your email, because they don't want to do that. See, it's on you where you want to apply for, and you are really sure that you want to apply to this particular university. And I don't think there is any other answer to it.
Yeah, I don't also think there's a perfect way to do it. You'll always end up like giving an extra score. You may have to like send two or three more, and then totally depends on the university you're trying. But still, it's a good way. Like make an Excel sheet, know what your universities you are applying for, their application fee and their deadlines, so that you have an idea of like what to plan. If a university there's like we don't want you to miss applications just because you had like 10 in your list and you didn't like look at their deadlines and you just lost two of them since the deadline passed. So make sure you're well aware of everything that goes on their sites.
And what I would also suggest is that there are few universities in the US where you just need to send your TOEFL score and there is no fee. So
Yeah.
try to choose that universities, I would suggest,
Yeah.
because they are not expensive.
Yeah. USC also didn't want our score beforehand. They said us like you only have to send it after you get selected. So that was one way around it. So again, things might vary from university to university. So just be informed.
Yeah, this will be present on the website. So some universities do say that you have to submit your TOEFL scores along with your application. Some say that's not necessary. You can submit it after you're accepted. I remember this to be there on the website.
Yeah.
So Prabjot asks, does LinkedIn help in approaching professors, or is email a good way to approach?
Email.
Email is always a good option.
See, I also talked to some professors on Twitter. They replied very nicely, but I would not suggest you to,
Yeah.
because it is not formal.
Yeah.
So any more questions?
Yeah, I want to ask a question.
Yeah, Vedant, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know if any of you faced issues in finding, say, a second or third person in the list that you have. So you need three people. So did you ever face issues finding those two or three people in your list? And if yes, then how did you go about it?
Okay, yeah, I did. So see, there are two things, okay? Now, if the first person, like the one person that you found is not that great, like great in the sense that you really don't like their research a lot, then maybe you can consider not applying to that university if there's just one PI there. But if like that person is like someone who you really look up to and you really want to go to their lab and stuff, you can maybe diversify your search a little in terms of the research that you write that you want to do at that university, which would help you in including two, three more people who maybe don't do the exact same work, but it's related in some sense to it. And then you can explain that in your SOP. And then again, at the end of the day, it's like once you're admitted to the university, you can join whichever lab you like. So you won't be bound to join any of those. But that's what you can just like maybe expand on your research interests a little more in the direction which would help you in including a few more people. And I mean, I think it would be a very rare instance where that there's that just one, like in organic chemistry, even if we just broadly look at it, there would be more than one professor working in that field. So maybe like if nothing, then maybe try to relate inorganic chemistry in that sense to each other so that there is something that you can like
Yeah.
add to it to make sure you get more professors. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
don't just look for your work that you did in your master's. Like, be a little broader with your what you want to try. Since, like, one thing I felt was we our research like experience until now was only what was available at IISER. So it doesn't like a 1 year project doesn't have to guide my entire academic research. So you can always like be flexible with what you're looking for, and then like they don't really mind here. So a lot of students who get into grad school are like they don't have a master's, so they don't really have a research experience. So they like any other student coming from a bachelor's here in the US can like choose any. They don't have a like niche that they want to go to, so they can always explore. So maybe you can also take like benefit of that and don't just stick to your field. So if you want to like expand around, change your fields, feel free to do that. Yeah.
Okay, I have a follow-up if that's all right.
Yeah, sure, Vedant, go ahead.
Yeah, so let's say I find two more people somehow because there's one person whose work really interests me, and I have to find two more people. So does my relevance, as in the relevance that my work holds to their research, matter in this case, or I mean, so this is something that bothers me even now, that even if I name two other people, if I don't have that research experience, I don't have those adequate credentials, then I have
Uh-huh.
a feeling that it might not go down too well with the committee, because it's a very what do you say, it's a very unsubstantiated claim on my part if I just say that there is this person whose research interests me, but I have nothing to show for it. So do you think that's
Yeah.
something that matters?
So I think they're always fine with if you don't have research interest because research experience. So since there's like they know that you don't have like there's never gonna be a direct correlation with your work and their work. So they are a little flexible with that, and I don't know, like it shouldn't be the case. Like if you are interested, like you can totally say that like I just got to know about your field like just now, and your research like don't go that plainly. But still, like yeah, I was just introduced this during my masters, or like since we didn't have it here, I couldn't try it, and that's totally one way to go about it.
I would
Yeah.
say in a sentence or two, show your zeal and enthusiasm towards
Yes.
in that particular topic. No, oh, I am really interested in this,
Yeah.
and then I think they understand.
And
Yeah,
how do
exactly.
I
Like, I
include
mean,
all this in my SOP and make it cohesive? Because then if I'm switching tracks, then it's like I'll be going along one direction, expressing my interest, and then suddenly I'm, switching to something else. So is that something that's acceptable?
no, no. So see, when you're mentioning about your interests, right? So you can, like the rest of them also said, when you're writing about your interests, you can even mention about things that you haven't been able to try, but you're interested in trying those. And basically, the skill set that you would have, right? Maybe the categorization techniques or the synthesis methods and those kind of things would still be the same to some extent. Now, so in that sense, you would still have some background, even though it's not directly the same thing that they are doing. And in that sense, you can try to create a story. And I mean, exactly. Like, it's not like what you've done in your bachelor's or master's would ever directly relate to some work that's happening. But what is important is for you to mention in a line or two how you got introduced to that field or what about it interests you. And even if you don't have a huge like background in that, it should not be a big difference, like make a
Yeah.
big difference.
And sometimes it can also be the case that you don't really have proper instrumentation to work on that particular
Yeah.
at your particular institute. So you can also mention that we didn't really have a lab who works on this topic. So that's why you didn't get the chance to explore it.
Yeah. Again, you'll have to tailor it whatever like the three professors you're applying to, and then what the university has.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So it's close to dinner time. We'll wait a couple of more minutes for more questions. In the meanwhile, I want to say a few things, even though I'm not in the same field. But so since I've been a part of the other webinars, there's been some very common issues. So first thing is, almost every section emphasizes making a Twitter account. So maybe if you guys haven't made one, just consider making one and following a couple of people. Secondly, do share your SOPs with your friends, at least if you have close friends, because what happened in my case is you usually tend to underestimate yourself. So you write an SOP and then you don't mention certain things that you think don't really matter. So someone will come and tell you, oh, you didn't even write about this. How come you didn't write it? And then you would say, oh, I didn't think it's actually a good achievement. So do consider sharing it with your friends. Moreover, do consider writing multiple drafts. So what happens is sometimes you sort of write little bit and work on them multiple times, and then once you have a very good draft, it's already close to the deadline. What I would suggest instead is to write multiple drafts and keep sharing it with people before itself, so that it's better in the sense that you have already a story written and you can slowly modify the story as time goes around. That helps for me. And yeah, so the last thing I wanted to say is, when you're asking for people to give recommendations, also ask them how many recommendations they will give. Because some
Yeah.
people say, yeah, sure, I'll give you a recommendation. And then you ask them later and they'll be like, oh, I can only give it to 2 or 3 universities. And then, so that really affects how many places you apply to. So this you have to do even now, because you be upfront about it. If you ask someone, will you be willing to give me a recommendation? Ask them how many they are comfortable in doing so, so that it helps you decide, okay, how many places can I actually apply. So yeah, I think this is all.
And
So maybe
adding to this, I know that you always get a notification when your professor has uploaded a recommendation, but keep asking them again and again. So what happened in my case, I wouldn't name the professor, but he uploaded a recommendation of some other person instead of me.
wow,
So it's a PDF, okay? And I paid $100 for it. I don't want somebody that he should upload a wrong presentation or wrong PDF of, okay?
right.
Then somehow he realized like 1 hour later when I went to his office that, did you upload, were you able to upload it? And he was like, shoot, I think I uploaded the wrong one. Then I had to talk to the grad school that, okay, this is the case. And he also wrote an email that I made this mistake. Can I please upload it again? So they were flexible. Okay, they allowed him to upload it again. But see, things can be tricky. You need to be sure on your part.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, one thing this Ruchira suggested in a previous session is that if you have close friends who are also applying to similar universities, make sure you speak with them and find out whom they're taking recommendations from. Because some
Yeah.
people will take the same institute, no, same faculty. So make sure that doesn't really match. Like
Yeah.
the same
Like,
professor should not recommend two students for the same university. That's
yeah,
really
split your recommendations if your friend is also applying, if someone from your lab is also applying to the same, like, okay, it's totally good way to go. Okay, okay, we are going to apply for 5 of these common universities, three you take, three I'll take, or maybe two each or something, and then we'll totally find three different persons for like one of the units. Since you are like, if you are in the same lab or something, you're all like, you will have the same supervisor, you'll have almost the same committee members. So it's always to divide and be transparent about that stuff. Even if if they're your friends, like, I'm totally think that they'll be fine with it. Yeah.
And
So
like, be
once,
proactive, even if it's your professor, your
yeah.
recommender. Okay, anyway, be proactive. Keep asking.
Yeah. So once you're through with one or two applications, I think it gets easier. Like, you have a draft or something, and then you can like always modify and
I mean,
Also,
don't just think and ponder. Okay, they might have uploaded my recommendation. No, you need to ask.
also, if you have any kind of teaching experience, mention that too, because that's a very important
yes,
thing in the US.
yeah.
So, like, write that on your SOP because it does make a difference.
Mhm.
And like, if there are other friends or your batchmates and all who are applying, like, I mean, talk to them in general about the whole process because it is very stressful.
Yeah.
It can be very tedious.
Keep
So
keep
you
talking to the folks.
yeah, if you talk to your friends, I mean, you can cry about it together and you can be like, why is all of this so
Yes.
exactly.
like so lengthy and complicated? And
Yeah.
that will help. I mean, it will really help make the process easier in the in terms of dealing with it. Although like
Yeah.
it will be very tedious till the very end, but it will
Yeah.
just still help you get through that time.
Yeah. You are always free to message seniors to like, even
Yeah.
for like a more support system. So it really helps. We understand it's very stressful. Like, yeah, we've struggled a lot, and you will too. But yeah, just keep people around you who care about you, and just keep talking to them. That will help. So, any last comments from any of the speakers? In the meanwhile, I will request you to put your emails IDs in the chat for
Oh,
students to
I
like.
think she forgot to share the slide of contact information.
So
Oh yeah. We just removed.
no, you can actually just give the presentation to me. I will send it to them. That is okay.
Oh, oh.
Yes. So yeah, it's close to dinner time. We should end. If any of the speakers have something else to say, we can have that. Or anything else also. Okay, so thank you all for coming. Like especially the speakers for waking up so early in the morning. Thanks for every listener to come, and like please feel free to contact any of us for suggestions and all. The recording of the session will be posted. Yeah, just like take care and yeah, get a support system. Talk to people. It will be fine. We will get somewhere. It's okay. Be prepared to be rejected, but it is still fine. We
Yeah.
will get somewhere. So be
One
prepared.
other thing, the acceptances come in early for US and the rejections come like really late. Once they're
Yeah,
done with
right.
the application process, then only then that they'll reject you. So just keep waiting that maybe you are in a like
Yeah.
waiting list or something. But like don't lose hope. Like be ready, but you just need one application. You are not going to like go to two different
It's not
universities.
a hard and fast rule. Like I was put on the waiting list first. Okay, I got my result like really late, but still I was selected. So
Yeah.
don't be don't make a mindset. Okay, that okay I won't be selected. I'm talking about US application. So it, anything can happen.
US mostly IISER. I think that IISER people can catch like can crack any universities like because we have a little bit advanced experience and we'll have summer projects. We have recommendations and
Yeah.
it's like if you tailor a good SOP and that's genuine combined with good letter of recommendations, you can do it. It's not that big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it. Yeah. Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Shashank, for
Thanks
guiding us
everyone.
and
Thanks, Shashank,
taking
for
this
organizing
tedious
this.
Yeah,
job
Oh
of
no,
thank
no,
you.
arranging and calling everyone and following up. It's
no, no.
it's like it's huge, man. Yeah,
No, thanks
I
a lot for
personally
coming.
compliment you for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks a lot.
Yeah, we really
So,
appreciate you for this.
thank
I
you.
wish
yeah.
somebody should have done it when we were
Yes.
looking for PhDs.
I would have really like appreciated
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Okay, thanks everyone.
Okay, thank you.
Take care. Stay safe and well. I will end the session
Okay,
soon. You can all start leaving. Bye
okay,
bye.
Bye.
bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah.